Welcome to Fox Soul's Black Report, your daily source of Black news, Black views, and Black opinions. Today is Monday, May 2nd, and I'm Mimi Brown.
I'm Romeo.
I'm Demi Lobo, and on today's report, President Biden, he's letting it be known eliminating $50,000 in student loan debt is not on the table, but a large lump sum of loan forgiveness could be on the way for millions of borrowers. Meanwhile, the Congressional Caucus on Black Innovation was just created in hopes to close the economic gap for Black business owners in tech and innovation. We'll let you know their plan of action. Then, a white teacher is under fire for telling their classroom of mostly Black students to pick seeds out of cotton. And we have that story.
Plus, the fashion world is saying a final farewell to an icon, and Terry Crews regrets some controversial tweets he made back in 2020. We have all of that and so much more this Monday. Thank you for tuning in with us. It's our voice, not truth. So let's get it.
Well, President Biden, he's expected to eliminate some student loan debt, but probably not as much as people would like. The Hill newspaper says the president may eliminate $10,000 per borrower. The loan forgiveness would be done through executive action, but according to sources, that larger amount, that $50,000 in student loan debt, well, that's not on the table. Biden is reportedly not considering canceling $50,000 in student loan debt, despite calls from progressive senators like Elizabeth Warren and now House Whip Jim Claiborne. He's weighing in. He says he sees $10,000 as a good step, but he says he'll keep pushing for $50,000. I think he can do more. I think he should do more. I think 10,000 is just the bare minimum. And I keep saying this, and I'll say it again. If we can send billions of dollars to Ukraine, he can definitely help out the tax-paying citizens of the United States. I think we need to keep that same energy. And I'm not saying the people of Ukraine don't deserve aid, but I think let's keep that same energy for the United States as well.
Absolutely. So a big story over the weekend was that, I believe it was on Fox News, was that President Biden, he wants for student loan repayment to be paid, and the taxpayers are going to have to pay for that in order for us to get our student loan debts canceled out. So Republicans are really upset about this is because you have people that didn't go to college, right? And they're like, if I'm a taxpayer, I didn't go to college, why am I going to have to pay for people to get their loans erased? And so that could be about $13,000 per household, which some people are like, I already paid off my student loan debts. Why would I be helping other people pay off theirs? And I already paid off mine. Another thing that a lot of people have to worry about right now is that it gets really sticky because I feel like I care about the fact that I need my student loans paid off, but then you have someone else in a situation who doesn't resonate to how I'm feeling right now. So that's why Republicans and Democrats are not being able to see eye to eye on this.
Yeah, that's why I would say we just clear out the debt all the way across the board, because now you also have the White House is considering income caps for eligibility. So if you make X amount of dollars, why should you be punished for your success, though? Because at that time when you got that loan, right, that put you in debt, we were all in the same playing field, right? So I think people shouldn't be punished for that. So how do you get around that? How do you have not taxpayers saying, look, I'm upset about what you're talking about doing this and making me pay? Just clear the debt all the way across the board. We could be done.
We could be done, Romeo. And to both of your points, like, if there's a cure for cancer and people who have already been cured of cancer, should they be like, well, I don't want you to get that cure for cancer because I'm already cured? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, when you put it like that, that's how crazy it sounds when people say that they don't want student loan debt or forgiveness because they've already paid off their student loans.
You know, for me, you guys know I'm a strong proponent of getting all student loan debt forgiven. But now I'm actually kind of starting to see both sides a little bit here because, like, it kind of, if I get my $50,000 removed, but then someone else has to pay for it who didn't go to college, I kind of could see how there could be different views on it, But I still want mine, canceled
I know
all the
you
way.
do, and I know many others want to. And I'll say this to end it off. At the end of the day, man, look, if we can get that debt cleared across the board with everyone, that's money that goes back into the economy.
Right.
That's people that can finally get ahead and get good credit, even that, right?
Yeah, I mean, and billions of dollars in PPP loans, too, were forgiven, so.
And, again, multiple studies have shown that that will close the racial inequality gap for Black Americans. And that is the main reason I think that we should be doing this.
Absolutely. Great point. All right, so meanwhile, the Justice Department will eliminate all student loan debt for students who went to the now defunct Miranello Schools of Beauty. The for-profit college was forced to shut down after the Education Department stripped it of all federal funding back in 2016. Now, federal officials, they say Miranello misled students about the quality of their programs and left them in unaffordable debt they could not repay. The Biden administration has canceled an estimated $18.5 billion of student loan debt since taking over the White House.
Days after the release of a former U.S. Marine from Russian custody, a Change.org petition is calling for the release of WNBA star Brittney Griner. The release of Trevor Reed sparked outrage from Griner fans, prompting a slogan, "What about Brittney Griner?" on social media. The petition has about 107,000 signatures and is asking the Biden administration to do more to get Griner released. She has been held in a Russian jail since February for allegedly having a vaping device and cannabis oil in her luggage.
And after a year of behind-the-scenes investigation, the January 6th committee will now begin to hold public hearings next month. Chairman Benny Thompson says the panel will hear from outside witnesses no one has heard from before. Thompson says the hearings will use a combination of witnesses and exhibits to tell what Americans really happened on the day of the insurrection. The panel is expected to have 8 hearings in the morning and on primetime television. The last public hearing, it was scheduled for July of 2021.
And a new congressional caucus is working on ways to close the economic gap for Black business owners in technology and innovation. Congresswoman Stacey Plaskett will chair the Congressional Caucus on Black Innovation. The caucus will develop policy that will address systemic racism and bias that stops Black innovators from getting the funding that they need to be successful. The caucus will also present bills that address other issues hindering Black innovators.
After 20 years of being under federal oversight, the Oakland Police Department is getting closer to ending court order reforms. U.S. District Court Judge William Orrick says he plans to issue an order outlining the ways the department can prove it will implement court order reforms. Oakland PD was put under court supervision stemming from a scandal involving a group of rogue officers known as the Riders. 4 cops were fired in 2002 after a class action lawsuit claimed they beat and planted evidence on Black men. Oakland Police Chief Lerone Armstrong says his department must improve on how it disciplines officers.
And police reform activists in Baltimore are angry with Mayor Brandon Scott after he increased the city's police department budget. Scott was elected in 2019 during the height of the protest movement against police violence. He campaigned on fixing a police department implicated in several scandals. So when budgeting time rolled around and many expected Scott to keep his word on police reform, but instead he increased the police budget about $5 million. Now, reform activists say they want the mayor to invest the money in community services. It's now the second year in a row Mayor Scott has proposed an increase for police despite public outcry.
The union representing cops in Grand Rapids, Michigan are defending the cop who killed an unarmed African immigrant last month. A spokesman for the union says while Patrick Lyoya's death was tragic, Officer Christopher Scher had a legal right to protect himself and the community in a dangerous situation. Meanwhile, records obtained by the Detroit Free Press show that Scher has been praised by his superiors for chasing suspects on foot during his time as a cop. Scher, who was not been charged in a crime, killed Lyoya after a traffic stop, shooting him in the back of the head. The union said on Facebook that they stand with Officer Scher and will continue to give him and his family whatever support that they need. Meanwhile, Lyoya's family wants Scher fired and charged with crimes. Now, state police are investigating the shooting.
Former St. Louis police officer is suing the city's police department for racist behavior and retaliation. Shanette Hall says she was reassigned to a patrol job in predominantly white precinct after she appeared on a national news show to talk about Black women and policing in America. Hall says the new position was dramatically different from her job in human resources, where she was responsible for recruiting new cops. Her lawsuit details the racist hiring practices of the command staff, such as not requiring white men to take the written or physical exams.
A Black Florida man who was released from prison last year when his murder conviction was overturned, well, he may be forced to go back to prison. Chrisley Greene's conviction of a 1990 murder case was reversed 4 years ago by a federal judge. He was convicted of shooting to death 22-year-old Charles Flynn Jr. Now, Greene has served 32 years in prison. His conviction was reversed by a federal court in 2018 because the prosecutor allegedly withheld information suggesting the victim's girlfriend may have been involved. Now, the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals, they're reversing the order that set Greene free. His legal team is now fighting to keep him out of prison.
A black Minnesota lawmaker denies he intimidated police officers after showing up to a scene where his daughter had been pulled over by cops. Now, Representative John Thompson, he showed up to the scene out of concern for his daughter, who suffers from mental illness. Police say they pulled over the lawmaker's daughter because she was swerving and had expired car tags. Now, Thompson, who is a critic of police in the Minneapolis-St. Paul area, he says he ran for office after his friend Philando Castile was killed by police in 2016. The local police union is urging Thompson to allow St. Paul police to release the officer's body camera footage, which requires his consent under the law.
Black parents at a Texas middle school say their children are being racially harassed, taunted, and bullied by white kids. Parents point to a recent Instagram page created by students called LBMS Monkeys. The page has since been taken down, but the black kids at the Laura Bush Middle School, which is named after the former First Lady, say they're called monkeys in class. In a statement, the school's principal called the accusations appalling and disgusting and not a reflection of his beliefs. It's unclear if the students who created the page have been punished.
And school officials in Rochester, New York are investigating allegations a white teacher told his class of mostly black students to pick seeds out of cotton. The teacher also reportedly told his 7th grade social studies class to put on handcuffs during a discussion about slavery. And in another incident, the teacher brought handcuffs and shackles to school. When one of the students refused to put them on, the teacher threatened to send her to the principal's office. Now, the name of the teacher has not been released, but the teacher has been put on administrative leave, and the school they're conducting an investigation. Now, the incident came to light after a fellow teacher posted the accusation on a Facebook page. Parents at the school are calling for the teacher to be fired and his license revoked. You know, this is starting to be a pattern. We saw this in San Francisco, where there was a teacher who got the cotton plants, and I disagreed with it then, I disagree with it now, because what's happening is you give someone an inch, they take a mile, because now we're adding handcuffs and shackles to a history lesson. And you know, this school is mostly black and brown, and these are 7th graders that are being asked to reenact slavery, for lack of better words, right? Reenact being a slave. One of the little girls in the class said she felt embarrassed to be black at that moment. And that's not what teachers are supposed to do. Teachers are supposed to encourage you, uplift you, not make you feel like, you know, that something's wrong with you because you're black. And the principal is saying that she's appalled by this, is extremely troubled. And from her, I need more action, less talk. Like, that's what I need.
You know, it seemed like a lot of parents weren't necessarily upset about their children learning about slavery and learning about our ancestors and how we were affected by the effects of slavery. I don't think that is what parents were upset about. I think parents were upset about the shackles, like you said, the handcuffs, the picking of the cotton, the picking the seeds out of the cotton, those specific details from a white teacher on top of that. I think that is what parents were the most upset about, because that is not your place. I understand that something in his brain thought that this was a good idea, but that's not your place to try to teach black students the effects of slavery in this way.
Well, we talked about the San Francisco story, and then when this one came up, I said, okay, Mimi's going to be like, see, be careful what you ask for. Because, look, I was okay with the last incident. I'm okay with this, but it went too far. If you're going to have those things on display, fine, but don't ask kids to try them on and things of that nature. And he went to the extreme with the picking the cotton. I'm okay when it comes to showing what we had to deal with, our ancestors had to deal with, but there is a limit, and this person definitely crossed the line.
They crossed the line, and according to reports, white students did not have to participate in this. Yeah. So that just goes to show you there was some ill will, there was some malice in this assignment. This wasn't just a history lesson. This was something that was deeper. It was racist. Absolutely.
Absolutely. A high school lacrosse player in Atlanta, in an Atlanta suburb, says she was called the N-word during a match. Asia Thomas says it happened during a game in Gwinnett County between Brookwood High and one of its rivals. Now, Thomas, she says a group of boys from Cherokee School, they began shouting the slurs at her. Then that school principal says that they interviewed the students, the coaches, and parents, and none of them heard the slurs. But Thomas says that her parents say that they are not pleased with how the situation is being handled. They don't feel the incident is being taken as seriously as it should be.
A Texas family says their son hasn't been able to enroll in his local high school because of a racist hair policy that banned braids and other natural styles. The East Bernard Independent School District's handbook reportedly bans hairstyles as part of its dress code. According to reports, the handbook has been removed from the district's website after reporters started asking questions about the policy. The family of 17-year-old Daree Williams just moved to Texas from Cincinnati. He wears his hair in braids and considers the style a tie to his culture and ancestors. His family has appealed the decision by local school officials to no avail. They say cutting his hair is not an option, but they also say they don't have another option for a public school to send him to because East Bernard is the closest district to his home. You think about the stories we've had over the years, and we'll finally get to the point where all across the world, this country, they will understand that this is part of the culture. Our culture for many, many years and decades. This is part of the young generation. This is how they rock their hair, and I'm okay with that. So how do they still want to try and take charge? I feel like it's to some degree they always want to have power over us to a certain level, and it always gets to this point where it really damages a kid. And he has to take this with him moving down the road, moving forward in life. He's going to remember this situation.
I don't understand what is the obsession over braids. I don't get it. Like, I think that the black community, you know, we have so many white men and women, I'll say, that love to have braids. They love to get their cornrows on. You see Coachella, the girls have their braids, their French braids and all that cute stuff. So I don't understand why this is a hairstyle that black people wear. Why is it a big deal the way that we wear our hair? Just like black women wanting to wear afros at work. Why is it such a big deal? Because, you know, when people that are not of our race, they love touching it and saying like, oh, can I touch your hair? It's fascinating. But then when you, like you said, Romeo, when you have to find a way to have power, then that's how you use it against us, and that's what I don't like.
No, you're right, Demi. You know, the school took the student handbook down that everyone's asking questions. Yeah. So if this is your policy, then stand by it. Why are you taking it down now? Because everyone is coming, and that means you know it's wrong. And I was doing some research on the policy, and Romeo, by their standards, your hair at the top would be too long to even go to school there. Literally.
That's a problem.
It has to be even on the sides and the tops in order. So, I mean, it is such a racist policy. You know, they just passed the Crown Act in the House, and we're hoping and hoping that it'll pass in the Senate. Senator Cory Booker is sponsoring that bill in the Senate. So we'll see what happens, because there has to be some national level of attention given to this.
I just really quick, if I have a chance, just as a black mother with a black young boy, and Romeo too, having a young son, like, what would be the response for you finding out something like this after your son went to school?
Oh, I would probably go up to the school and raise all kind of hell. I would not let it go, and I would not make him cut his hair. That's not an option. And so I stand with this mother who I would never ever allow someone to tell me that I need to cut my son's hair.
Agreed.
No. All right, allegations that Ohio police used excessive force when they fatally shot a 23-year-old black man in 2016 is being rejected by a federal jury. Henry Greene was shot during an undercover investigation. The city of Columbus claims that Greene ignored commands from 2 officers to drop his gun. They said he did not listen to the officers, and in response, the officers returned fire, which led to Greene's death. Now, 2 officers will not be indicted after an internal investigation. In the past couple of years, though, there have been multiple high-profile cases over the killing and treatment of black people by Columbus police officers. In December, the city agreed to pay nearly $6 million to protesters injured by officers during the George Floyd protests. And in March, the Columbus police officer who fatally shot a 16-year-old girl, Ma'Khia Bryant, was cleared of any wrongdoing.